And welcome back to coverage here of the Neon Dynasty Championship. Marshall Sutcliffe with Cedric Phillip. Thank you so much for joining us. And we've got one more round of Historic to bring you today before we call it a day for the tournament. But of course, that means that we're going to be filling out top 8 slots, and a lot of them. There's actually 6 up for grabs still. And well, one of these two players is playing a straight up winning, and that would be Shota Yasooka from Japan on the side. Zhi Yimin from China on the left, not in such a favorable position. Zhi is on 10-4 for the record, which means that with a victory, he would put himself into kind of a big tiebreaker mess where he's got a legitimate chance to make top 8 but isn't guaranteed it. Shota with a 12th win, however, would put himself directly into the top 8.
He would, and I'm not sure exactly what we're walking into here, partner, but it does not look good for Shota, sitting at 3 life and facing down 3 power on the battlefield. So, hello, round 15.
Well, we are well underway. Goodness sakes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was uncalled for.
All right.
Apparently just kidding.
Why don't we just start over again real quick here, Cedric? Pretend that never happened. Never
I
happened.
can.
I don't even know what you're talking about anymore.
That's easy to
Let's
do.
take a look at our matchup for the round. We've got Zhi Yimin from China on 10-4, hoping to pick up a victory. And then hope a little more for a tiebreaker magic. Shota Yasooka again is on 11-3. And the privilege of being on 11-3 means that you're 1 win away from 12. And 12 leaves you no doubt, Cedric. There's a, there are times before when we were covering tournaments similar to these Mythic Championships, Pro Tours in the past, where there wasn't a magic number, right? Yep. You had to, look, there was a point at which it became mathematically impossible for you to not be there, but now it's much more clean cut. With the 12th win, you're just locked for top 8, and that is what Shota's playing for, but only Shota out of our feature here.
Yeah, only him, which is why we're going to focus there. Of course, we already know that Jim and Jean Emmanuel, they're all set. So they're 2 of the 8. Shota looking to be in very good position to be number 3, almost regardless of outcome. Now, of course, we're going to watch this match, and life will be very easy if it is a victory. But for Zhi, that's where things actually get very interesting with that 10-4 record, because a win is going to make things much, much easier. Though the matchup is difficult with those main deck copies of Rest in Peace, as our wonderful people at the desk did tell us already.
Yeah, that's really tough. What do you think about the matchup as a whole if we zoom in on the match as we come in here? This is Rakdos Arcanist, a deck that's heavily graveyard-based, but also a really nice value engine. It's hard to kind of stomp out this deck entirely.
Yeah, I do like the matchup for Azorius control here, especially the build that Shota does have with those main deck copies of Rest in Peace, but also just has a lot of creature control in general, so I don't expect a lot of work to get done here from Dreadhorde Arcanist. But as I say that, you're seeing a hand here from Shota who doesn't really have any spot removal at this moment, so gonna cycle a Shark Typhoon, not only to try to find spot removal, but also to try to find a 3rd land. Accomplished one of those goals, but not the more important one, which is getting Dreadhorde Arcanist off the battlefield.
That's right. We know how devastating it can be. I mean, this is what the dream is for players when they play this deck, is just to get a Dreadhorde Arcanist on the battlefield and actually get to turn it sideways, because it is a must kill, right? That's the strength of it, is that you cannot leave it on the battlefield for even a turn, or it starts generating huge amounts of advantage, and it's immediate advantage. Stuff like this, Thoughtseize you, attack you, pick whichever one fits the bill, and pick another card out of your hand, and all of a sudden your hand just gets completely destroyed by this stupid little 2-drop that if you didn't have the answer for, it will take you down. And Shota's going to have a very difficult road ahead of him here, given that this Arcanist is doing just that. It gets to attack.
Yeah, and now you're going to see Inquisition of Kozilek going to get recast here. Now, there's only one target there in Dovin's Veto. The rest of the hand here is Shark Typhoons, plural, alongside a Memory Deluge. We're probably going to see a land and a Magmatic Chandler to finish things up for the turn. So it's a good start here for Zhi, but, Shota does have a lot of life to work with at 19. Yeah, his hand's gotten shredded a little bit here, but Shark Typhoon makes a creature that'll draw a card, get you closer to that 4th land, which he did find, and now a 5th land too. What this means, Marshall, is that though the hand has been shredded to start the game, there's one thing discard decks never can do, and that's stop the top card of the deck being a good one for the opponent. So a great start for Zhi, but by no means is this game over.
We need to develop a deck, Cedric, that has hand disruption and mill. Top
Okay.
Attack the top card of the library,
Okay.
attack their hand. See, then there's no way out.
And then if the opponent ever resolves anything whatsoever, are we just dead? Or
yeah, but we cut off the most likely avenues here, right? I mean, giving ourselves the best chance.
Well, I had to ask.
It's a game theory thing, you know. We'll talk about it later. Yeah,
okay.
Game theory stuff. Here comes Kroxa, Titan of Death's Hunger on the battlefield. If temporarily, it's still just Shota's hand continuing to fall apart. This is going to be Memory Deluge to try to find a couple of spells, and boy, there's some action there. You see,
those are real. Those are real cards. No, those are real cards.
Yeah, another one will go away. There's still the, I think it was Inquisition. I wonder if you can play around that here. Probably not.
So Inquisition bit the dust on the last activation from Dreadhorde Arcanist, so there should be a Thoughtseize in the graveyard.
So it's actually Thoughtseize. Okay. Yeah. So
that's
either
what should
one
be left over. Yep.
Yeah, but at any rate, one of these cards is going to go away because you can't cast March here anyway. Boy, this is a tough spot for Shota. You can't envy his position here. He's been Inquisition twice, Thoughtseize twice, and Kroxa.
Yeah, it's not an enjoyable experience. So there goes this sweeper. Adios. Okay. Do you want to deploy another Dreadhorde Arcanist in the face of maybe a top deck sweeper? Maybe yes, maybe no. The answer is clearly yes. The draw here is Jwari Disruption, which that one doesn't matter very much. The only other thing I'll point out here, Marshall, is that we're getting closer to Kroxa being brought back via Unearth, but also there's a Den of the Bugbear among the lands there for G. So life is pretty darn good for our Rakdos Arcanist player.
Yeah, this is exactly how you want to kick off your campaign here in the very last round of Swiss of the tournament. This is very much fighting for G's life in the top 8. March of Otherworldly Light will take care of at least one threat. Now there's 2 Arcanists, 2 lands, and nothing left in the graveyard to get back, right?
Yeah, and so this is a weird thing to say, but this is one way to combat the Arcanist, which is if they don't have much fuel, then it's just a 2-mana 1/3. What's the big deal? It's just, who cares about a 2-mana 1/3? No one would care about that. So it's not the most troublesome thing right now, but milling a couple of cards could make it a little bit better.
This is pretty nice too. The mill from Takenuma serving double duty, not only finding a better target than Kroxa in Seasoned Pyromancer to put into hand, but also potentially filling up that graveyard so that Kroxa can come back on its own.
Kind of seeing a little bit of a trade-off here. When you do play Dovin's Veto, you're going to be good against some things and poor against others. That might seem like an obvious thing to say, but Dovin's Veto does not counter creatures whatsoever, so perhaps Shota had those in his deck here this weekend to combat other Azorius control decks. And is it Phoenix more so than this Rakdos Arcanist deck, which is not one of the top decks in Historic? I think it's a little underrated, but it's making a run, and it's giving Shota some serious difficulty.
Yeah, now Kroxa Titan of Death's Hunger is really threatening to do huge amounts of damage here. And we're going to even see more damage as Shota feels compelled to play his land untapped so that he can flashback Memory Deluge. But it's adding up very, very quickly here. That shark is kind of hanging on for dear life.
Yeah, it has been an inconsequential shark. It'll probably have the opportunity to block the 6/6 here, but past that, it hasn't done much of anything. This Memory Deluge is going to have to be a real banger in order for Shota to get back into this, because as things stand, you got G kind of coming from multiple angles. You got the Dreadhorde Arcanist, maybe I find something, maybe I don't angle. You've got Kroxa tearing apart the hand and just being more or less a 9-power attacker, and then you've got the aforementioned Den of the Bugbear, which is causing some issues as well. So G doing a beautiful job here in this first game.
You thinking sweeper here for Shota?
Kind of. Like, the problem here is it feels like sweeper or bust, and sweeper is not a bad place to be, but Kroxa can come back, and Den of the Bugbear is still going to be causing some trouble. So I'm not sure what the best draw is here, because remember, this Kroxa is going to, it's going to come in, it's going to hit for a lot. Maybe Den of the Bugbear comes in too, and now it's about, if I'm G, I'm trying to get this game over with in 2 turns.
Yes. Can I interest you in a farewell?
Not a bad one. Still, Den of the Bugbear says, yo, what's up? I don't care.
True. Very true. And yeah, as you mentioned, the shark pretty much compelled to jump in front of Cruxa here. So it's 3, 4, 5, 6 damage coming across. Hey, that's the right amount.
Mm-hmm.
Does not set up the guaranteed 2-turn win if Shota does find a sweeper, but tons of pressure.
Now, you can make an argument right now for Shota of, okay, trigger on the stack from Croxa, cast Memory Deluge, take 2 spells, discard, like keep a bad one and discard it, and then keep your best one so that you don't take 3 damage from Croxa, and then you chump block it, and it hasn't been that effective this particular turn. You can make that argument. You could also make the argument of take the 3, chump block the thing, take 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 total, fall down to 4. That doesn't sound great.
This is interesting too, Cedric. There's also Hall of Storm Giants there. And
That's a really good point. That's a really good point.
Is tapped out. Like, is there a world where he eats the Den of the Bugbear or the Croxa here?
No, that's a very, very good point.
I mean, it means he doesn't get to fire off Memory Deluge. There it is. Hall of Storm Giants is going to interplay and block Croxa. That's going to be a chump block on the Den. Only 3 damage coming across, but the board's still very much intact. Land off the top here for Shota.
Don't love that. Looks like this is just going to have to be another Hall of Storm Giants turn, I guess.
It's kind of funny. Shota's hoping that the threat of that is enough for Zhi to just be like, yeah, okay, never mind. I'm just going to set up for next turn, go. And then he gets to fire off Memory Deluge.
Okay.
Oh, he's doing it now. He needs to find a white... He needs to find that, which he did, March of Otherworldly Light, and then I assume a white card, or can he survive by taking out just a token here? He can not, right? He's at 6? Yeah, not quite. Because it's 3 plus the token, plus the 2 1/3s. That's 6.
Well, let's see if this March interacts favorably with Den. Yeah, exile target artifact, creature, enchantment with mana value X or less.
Okay, so he can just kill the Den for 0?
Yep, so
Oh, that's some business.
So this matches up favorably.
Oh my goodness sakes. This is so unbelievably close for these two. 3 damage coming across. I don't think he has anything to get back. So down to 3, but he does have Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, which he's got another decision to make on that, I suppose. If he puts back a token, let's say, or a Dreadhorde Arcanist, he actually is surviving the attack that turn by 1.
Yeah, the question now is how many cards are actually in the graveyard for Zhi because of Croxa.
Okay.
Their ability to unearth it again. Censor is not what the doctor ordered, that's for sure.
He can cycle it, but he needs more than that.
I don't even know what the best find is here. Maybe the Wandering Emperor, something like that. It's not
There's
farewell.
The farewell, but it may be farewell here for Shota, as it looks like that's a little too late.
That was uncalled for.
Yeah, and that's a fine enough card to lead out on with 2, just to make sure the coast is clear in Inquisition of Kozilek. So it doesn't. I mean, it's a totally fine draw. It's just nice to know that, hey, I am clear for takeoff here to win this game.
G's going to get a quick look at the farewell in hand just to know that there's nothing to fear. And with 3 creatures coming in, each having 1 power, 3 life for Shota, that should be it. G's kind of putting on a show here.
Yeah, take that, Teferi.
Yep. And there we go. Game number 1 goes to Zhi Yimin. Wow. That was a game. He had such a great start, and yet Shota scrapped, almost put himself in a position to win, but it just fell apart at the end. But boy, Zhi, it's funny because he really did have like one of the best starts, right? He had 2 discard outlets plus Arcanist, and it got to do its thing. Can't complain about that.
And there are plenty of good cards to sideboard in here. Rekindling Phoenix, Chandra Torch of Defiance, Legion War Boss. Those are 5, I think, pretty easy ones to bring in. Go Blank could also be coming in here potentially as well. So I think there's some pretty nice ones to bring in right now. As you see the key cards in the sideboard for Zhi. And then on the other side of things, Shota also making some pretty quick decisions on what to sideboard in here. So we could see this Angel plan once again of the old Baneslayer plus Lyra combo finish package that we have seen before, as he is clicking around a little bit, trying to keep track of that and everything else that's going on here. So both players' decks, I think, get appreciably better after sideboard, which should ideally make for a pretty good second and potentially third game here. I got my eyes on you, Shota. I want to see if those Angels are coming in.
Yeah, I'm curious too. I'm really curious because he's been pretty consistently going with the plan with the matchups that we've been seeing, but this one might be a little different. Definitely the Dovin's vetoes were painful for him in that first game. Looks like he's making some room here. Pulled out the vetoes, pulled out one of the marches.
Yeah, Wrath and Day of Judgment, those being out of the deck makes a lot of sense to me. They're just don't seem particularly good in the matchup.
Okay. Narset coming in.
You know you want to. Looks like they're staying on the bench. Okay.
All right, game number 2 incoming between these two. Just a quick reminder of those records on the left and the implications for them. 11-3 means a win is for top 8 for Shota, but 10-4 for Zhi means a win is puts you into what is going to be a fairly large tiebreaker with the top however many of those actually making it in. Maybe 4 people, maybe 5, maybe 3. You never really know. It depends on how the other matches go, but that's to keep your hope alive for a top 8 finish here.
Zhi has already mulliganed once. It looks like it's going to be twice. This hand is not particularly functional. As you see, there's only one land and it's a red mana. I think you could make an argument for keeping it if it was a black mana to be able to fire off a Thoughtseize and have black mana for Feed the Swarm to blow up a Rest in Peace. But I think your hand is somewhat forced here on a mulligan to 5. We'll see if he agrees.
Yeah, you see a Rest in Peace, by the way, in the opening hand here for Shota Yasooka. So he's got that key card. Feed the Swarm, a very annoying answer. You know, there was quite a long time in Magic where if your opponent was playing black-red and you landed an enchantment, it was sticking on the battlefield. That isn't necessarily the case anymore, but still fairly narrow answers. Yeah, there's 5 now for Zhi.
Again, a little bit of a struggle. Well, less of a struggle. I take that back because there is a black source and a red source here. So this totally works. Do you want to put Chandra on the bottom or that Dreadhorde Arcanist or Magmatic Channeler? It looks like we're going to just stay with some cheap cards, put the more expensive ones away. Your lands make your hand functional, and you've got an Inquisition to immediately cast and blow up the Rest in Peace plan. So that's a good mulligan to 5.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. A backup plan too. Feed the Swarm. So if Zhi doesn't take the Rest in Peace here, Shota's going to go, okay, well, I know you've got an answer of some sort then. It gets a little awkward because having drawed Feed the Swarm, that really is kind of in there for Rest in Peace, and you may want to earmark it for that and then take one of these other powerful spells. If you take the Rest in Peace, you may be staring at that Feed the Swarm for a while.
And this is also what's interesting about this too is this Jawari Disruption, right? Because the next turn, Shota probably just goes land, go, with Disruption up, and okay, which 2 mana threat are you going to play? If you're going to play one at all. So, Archmage's Charm is going to play with us. Now we're going to have some fun.
Yeah, so this is interesting because Shota will have to have picked up on this. He's gonna run out Rest in Peace anyway, though, and this is a good development here for Zhi as he can get that Rest in Peace off the battlefield when he wants. He can use Feed the Swarm. So here we go. Magmatic Channeler is gonna be his 2-drop of choice while the shields are down. Passes the turn back. Ooh, Thoughtseize here for Zhi as well. This is pretty nice for him.
I'm going to be very interested to see how both these players play this game because you could make an argument for any of the cards there on turn 2 for Zhi. It could be Magmatic Channeler, it could be Dreadhorde Arcanist, it could have been just Feed the Swarm, blow up your Rest in Peace, let's play some Magic, right? So this is kind of interesting. So we're going to fire off this right now and hope that a counterspell has not been drawn. Of course, could have let out with Thoughtseize and elected not to. So, okay. Because there's only one mystery card.
He knows 3 of the 4 cards, right? The one mystery card, potentially problematic. This worked out sort of awkwardly here for Zhi, but still, he's making good forward progress in the game. Gets to attack for 1 and then follow up with Thoughtseize. perhaps just okay with trading this off. Maybe want to wait on that one, but
I don't love that. I don't love running Thoughtseize into Jawari Disruption. Now you can make the argument of, okay, well I'm running into Jawari Disruption. I want to get this part of the game over with. I'm also potentially taking out one of his land drops, but it feels like you've got time to cast that Thoughtseize. It seems like it might be more appropriate on this particular turn.
Yeah, to me, it just took away your options, right? Because there's no reason this game, with how low your curve is, to ever run a card into a known Jawari Disruption. You can just not do that. And then you get to choose. You might want to take it, but you might want to take something else too. This just let Shota decide.
And it gave him the opportunity to resolve. Oh boy! Well, it gave him the opportunity to resolve Memory Deluge, and he's found a couple of goodies here, Marshall.
He really has. He's got Teferi, Narset together, and then he's also got 2 removal spells with Portable Hole and March of Otherworldly Light. So things are actually looking quite good here for Shota. He's just going to lead off with the big boy here. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. Draw myself a card. And he hits a Shark Typhoon off of that. He's going to untap a couple of lands. He does have access to that March if he'd like to use it. Perhaps he'll feel compelled to do so. A little bit punishing to have to exile the Portable Hole if he wants to take down the Dreadhorde Arcanist, but he does have options on it. Card's quite flexible.
And we know how this song and dance goes when you're playing Azorius Control, or more importantly, playing against Azorius Control. Teferi gets to stick around for 2 or 3 turns. You're going to be too far behind then. It's very, very scary. So I like Shota taking the risk, because now what we're doing is we're playing a little bit of a sub game here, which is, can you get Teferi off the battlefield? If you can't, you're probably going to lose. If you can, it's basically going to require your entire turn to do so.
This is a sweet turn, though, for Zhi. He drew Seasoned Pyromancer off the top, which has got to be one of his best draws possible. And he's getting to attack with this Arcanist, so the Thoughtseize gets to pop off. And his creatures are going to take at least a chunk out of Teferi's loyalty as well. That is a lot of action for one turn here for Zhi.
How do you want to poke a hole in this hand? Portable Hole, the March, the Narset, the Shark Typhoon, they all take you down different routes, which is all pretty difficult to kind of plan for. Narset can, find a bevy of things. Shark Typhoon's a blocker. It looks like Shark Typhoon's going to bite the dust. Teferi is still living, though.
And now the Seasoned Pyromancer will hit the battlefield. And wow, draw a lot more action there. Chandra, Torch of Defiance, and another Seasoned Pyromancer. So both players playing at full force here. We really get to see the brunt of what these decks can do. And we'll see who walks away the winner of this game. If it's Zhi, then that's the match.
It is worth noting, too, as we were in that sideboard game, we were paying attention to how Shota was sideboarding. Looks like he boarded out the majority of his sweepers, the Wrath of God, the Day of Judgment, and is taking a much more spot removal-based approach, which does make some sense. This Rakdos Arcanist deck doesn't normally flood the battlefield very much or anything like that. It's kind of just, hey, I got 1 good creature, 2 good creatures, pick them apart, you're going to be okay. So you see Portable Hole take care of the Channeler, Narset being the follow-up, but in that situation, the sweeper kind of may have been nice, but it just doesn't exist in the deck.
Narset finds an Ether Gust.
Okay.
Haven't seen that one in a while.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing.
Haven't particularly missed it, but there it is. Seasoned Pyromancer number 2. So action for days here for Zhi. And Chandra, Torch of Defiance, the other option. One thing that's important to note here is that even though Zhi is making forward progress on some of these planeswalkers with regards to chipping away at their loyalty, it's not really the worst for Shota, right? Like that's a lot of damage is being thrown towards that right-hand side of the screen and not at Shota's life total, who's at 19.
Yeah, we're playing the sub game now. That's what I like to call it. A sub game, a mini game, what have you. Now it's a planeswalker party. There's 2 on one side, there's 1 on the other. And so now probably both players are going to be playing some sort of a sub game because these planeswalkers are so darn powerful.
Okay, so Chandra, Torch of Defiance is going to get rolling as well. That's 2 damage to Shota as there was a land revealed. Teferi's going to plus. This is the 3rd turn that Teferi's been plussed. Most people don't survive that.
Nope.
Something special is going to happen most likely. Even with the really nice draw here from G. Oh, look at this. Hall of Storm Giants. Where did you come from? Right off the bench and into the game. And boom, Chandra down. I wonder if G saw that one coming.
Yeah, you just can't let this Planeswalker stay around. You kind of got everything else kind of solved. The Shroudheart Arcanist isn't particularly good. You know a Seasoned Pyromancer is going to be coming, but you don't really care because you got these Planeswalkers running around, and your Teferi's still going to live. So I like that play. You know, it does look a little unorthodox, right? Because it's all of your turn, but Chandra is such a powerful card that it's worth it.
Yeah, you do a little snapshot at this point here, and Shota's looking to be in beautiful position with Teferi, Narset, a bunch of lands, a healthy life total, only one creature on the other side of the battlefield. A little bit of work to do, keep working that Teferi, maybe get that Memory Deluge fired off, and then it's one of those avalanche situations where G just hasn't made enough ground on actually getting this game over. A lot of distractions from the Planeswalkers, a lot of chipping away at their loyalty. Here's another indication of that, and a little too reactive of a game here for G, finding answers, trying to stop Shota from what he's doing, but one resolved Planeswalker is great. And look at that, a Seasoned Pyromancer that just gets wobbed by Narset. Can't be what you want to see if you're G.
No, that's not your favorite. Narset not going to stop Teferi, though. Going to allow Shota to continue to draw some cards. Commence the end game. Could be a real banger here now as well.
Named.
Yeah, this is getting problematic. This is what Azorius Control is trying to do, and you got to remember too at the jump off of this game. One, G did take a mulligan to 5, so wasn't starting at max capacity. But two, Rest in Peace showed up. Rest in Peace got taken care of, and Shota is totally fine. What that means to me, Marshall, is pretty simple. Rest in Peace makes it really easy, but he can still win a normal game.
Mm-hmm. Especially since G has to react, like bring in kind of awkward cards to try to kill a Rest in Peace that don't really have a whole lot to do with his normal game plan. Well, this is a well and truly end game commenced here from Shota Yasooka. He's just going to fire that off. He gets a 5/5 zombie army token here. Teferi's going to trigger on end step as well. And a land off the top for G is probably the nails in the coffin here.
Yeah, no more cards coming, right? Because of Narset being on the battlefield, unless you can get it off of the battlefield. But you got to expend some resources to actually do that. So, yep, here we go.
Yeah. Just continuing to send things at Planeswalkers, and I think Shota just couldn't be happier. Oh, and look at that. He's got Iganjo as well. Though,
yeah,
as
and
the board sits.
This is perfect because then the March can take care of the token.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and so this is the full blowout, which means that, yep, Narset's still here, which means follow-up Seasoned Pyromancer doesn't matter if there were one. So now there are 2 Seasoned Pyromancers in the graveyard, can easily handle the 1/1s that thing makes. And so Teferi has still not left the battlefield, folks. We know what that means.
And we know what that means, yeah. Yep. Hall of Storm Giants is even going to get fired up. Yeah, he wants to just do it. Look at that. 12. Just 12.
Yeah. Look at us go.
Wow. Shota's had enough. He says, look, this game's over. I know this game's over. I'll just do you a favor and start slamming with Hall of Storm Giants so that we can move on to the next one. But G's having none of it. That's not what this game is about. Still fighting. Feed the swarm off the top.
Sometimes great, other times not so much.
It's the card you need to have, but it's more of a necessary evil than anything else. You're not happy that it's there. It's just you don't want to just be stone cold, right, to a Rest in Peace.
Yep.
And it actually worked out okay here. Killed 5/5. That way he'll die in 2 turns instead of 1. So got that going for him.
A little bit of a Teferi flood here and a land flood. Now, one of those lands is a Castle Vantress, and there's already one of those in the battlefield. And speaking of lands in the battlefield, well, love to see it.
Yeah. There's a Hive of the Eye Tyrant there for G, but none of this is going to matter. That Teferi's ready to go ultimate. That Hall of Storm Giants is lethal and really putting G in a tough position here. Okay.
No
Chip you down so that you don't get to ultimate. Play a land pass. Now this is Seasoned Pyromancer for 2 more, or fire up the Hive, either way.
And this is never a good feeling to be on the receiving end of this. This is how you know a control player has a huge grasp on the game, which is a Castle Vantress activation. Oh, 2 on top, huh? Okay.
Oh, Topsies.
Yeah, I see.
hold that thought.
And might as well get them both right now, right? Why wait around? So this is going to force the issue now. Rest in Peace is going to hit, but the Pyromancer has to be activated in response or it'll get swept away. To that. And now he can activate Hall of Storm Giants once again, force a chump block, and then just leverage his removal and Planeswalker here to finish off the game. That doesn't look like there's anything possible here for Zhi to top deck.
Not that I can think of. Not when Shota has this big of a lead. Well, but wait!
Yeah, but wait, there's more.
Yes, it's a
Now he
discard
can just
spell.
Fire this off in response, kill a 1/1, and then the game gets easy from here. He can just use Teferi to kill the other. He's forcing chumps every single turn. We call that, he's got him in the abyss, right? Just you lose a creature every turn because you must chump block.
Oh, I like this.
I like it too.
Give Teferi a little taste.
Yeah. Keep him off of ultimate. Still got the Hive to chump.
Establish
Never-
dominance. Ooh,
never give
uh-oh,
up.
Marshall.
You know what?
Shark
No,
Typhoon.
no. I don't even care. I don't even care. Like, I'm more interested in the hall. All right, sure, Amirius call, whatever.
That'll
All right,
work.
that's going to be game number 2 going to Shota Yasooka. That one took a little while to finish off, but it had been over for a good long time there, and we're going to get a game 3 between these two. Everything on the line for Shota Yasooka, yet another top finish waiting in the wings. If he can win this one sideboarded game, he could pick up top finish number 10, put him in double digits.
It's a lot of those.
It's a ton of those. If you haven't watched Shota play before, he's a Hall of Famer. He was the Player of the Year in 2006. He's won 2 different Pro Tours, including one in Kaladesh just about 6 years ago. He even won the World Magic Cup as a member of Team Japan in 2017. This guy's done it all. But get to that double digit top finishes, that wouldn't be the worst.
No, that would make a nice little weekend. Kinda check
Interestingly,
off 2 boxes.
Yeah, and G actually has more to lose here with a loss. Certainly not going to make the top 8 at that point. So a win keeps the dream alive, and it would put them both at the same record. And in fact, he would be in the same scrum with Shota if he were to pick up this last game, and maybe on tiebreakers can sneak into the top 8.
Well, I'll say this. On the play, game number 3. So fire off a discard spell into an Arcanist, into another discard spell, something like that. And you can steal this thing. I do think the matchup, again, is very difficult for Rakdos Arcanist, but being on the play and having his deck constructed the way that he does, he has answers to Rest in Peace. He always has the discard style draws that we saw in game number 1. So it's all possible here.
Okay, let's get underway here in our 3rd game. See how this goes.
So I like it. Let's get the full look. Okay, no discard. So no discard off the jump, but Kroxa into Legion Warboss or Kroxa into Go Blank into Chandra. I mean, these are haymakers.
Absolutely heavy hitters here for Zhi. Kroxa's the first one. This is the easy mode. But Warboss is a card that must be answered or it runs away with the game on its own. Go Blank is just a nightmare for Shota. He just hates to see that card.
Yeah, and that might be the follow-up, right? Like, I think the sequencing here just might be, Kroxa into Warboss, because you might want to save Go Blank for when there's a Memory Deluge in the graveyard or something.
Okay.
Right? And just go this is brutal. But I like Warboss into Chandra into stuff afterward. I'm really into that.
I like your line there too. It's also worth noting that the Warboss is better the sooner it gets on the battlefield, right? You just get an additional token. Let's just say that resolved. It's better now than it would be next turn, where Go Blank arguably gets better a little later in the game.
Yeah, totally agree. And you know what? I'm liking this full picture mode we got here. from Zhi's side. It's like, it's kind of, you know, like the poker hand cam. It's like, I don't know what my opponent's got going on there, but I'm going to find out. I'm led to believe that Shota does not have a third land if they're main phase cycling. I'm a genius.
This is huge. Cycling main phase and misses. Now we got clear path for Chandra, Torch of Defiance, and this card's a problem. It's going to be a lot of damage, a lot of card advantage, and maybe even an ultimate to win the game a little bit. Shota Yasooka completely on the ropes here, has to start hitting land drops to get back into this thing, or that 10th finish might be out of reach.
Okay, so Rest in Peace is fine enough. Now there's an Arcanist, so now Rest in Peace has gotten significantly worse. Now we see what Shota's working with here, and it's a lot of marches. It is not it's not triple blue for Archmage's Charm. I mean, this hand is not good, folks.
Really bad hand. Seasoned Pyromancer was the hit, by the way, off of Chandra, and perfect timing for it, as you can get rid of cards that you just don't really need with a Rest in Peace out there. And it looks like G is going to try to pounce here. Was that a land? It was a haul, the all-star from the prior one, but he's really going to be leaning on perhaps even the alternate cost on these March of Otherworldly Light to get him out of this mess.
Yeah, what's interesting now is that you have the ability, you have enough mana with Chandra and the land in hand to just go, okay, I'm going to fire off multiple copies of Go Blink and shred your hand. You know, one of the things that happens when someone is mana screwed is, of course, all of their cards in hands are spells, right? So the thought process is, if I just kind of runner multiple lands and you kind of float out a little bit, well, then life is good. You know, I've got spells to play. But on the flip side, if you're mana screwed and then your hand gets destroyed, you can't draw a land in the spell in the same draw step. So these Go Blinks are actually going to be, I think, pretty good, because you mentioned March and the alternate casting cost on that. Well, that's going to take some cards to do that, and that makes Go Blink even better.
Yeah, I like your line of just making mana and just double Go Blanking here. You still get to plus Chandra and set up for a potential ultimate or a threatening it of an ultimate, but you get to empty your hand quicker, and that's better for Seasoned Pyromancer.
So I say, let's let these spells rip, baby.
Yeah, he did end up just plussing Chandra on the take a look at a card. Now that does, of course, get you some extra damage flowing here. Down to 16 is Shota already. And going to still take 4 damage potentially. But if this Chandra gets to ultimate, it's just over.
Oh, yeah, there's no coming back from that.
Yeah. For those who don't remember, the ultimate is you get an emblem with whenever you cast a spell, it does 5 damage to anything. Game doesn't last very long at that point.
No, it doesn't. And so here's that second copy of Go Blink. So basically 4 cards have been taken care of from Shota's hand, and Shota's hand is such that March has to actually be in charge of taking care of the Planeswalkers. So yeah, these 2 cards have to go. March has to take care of Chandra from the ultimate, and then you gotta draw, I mean, beyond perfect from there. And you just he's just stuck.
Ultimate time. Hit the button. Blow it up. Zhi Yimin can just ultimate Chandra, Torch of Defiance, cast a few spells, and this thing is over. That one stumble from Shota Yasooka was absolutely devastating to his chances to win this game. And a decent draw here from Zhi, a nice little curve out there, 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop, is all he's going to need to get the job done. Stumble. These tap lands so brutal here for Shota. When he did finally find lands, it was tap land into tap land. Now we see Seasoned Pyromancer hit the battlefield and another Go Blank just to take out the rest of it. And you know what that is? That's 5 more damage. And Zhi Yimin defeats Shota Yasooka and keeps the dream alive.